Welcome to the Do Life and a Body You Love podcast. I'm Nikki O'Day, and we are going to talk about any and every topic that will get you showing up bigger and bolder in your life. Weight loss, relationships, mindset, it's all on the table. It may not come out real PC, but if you're sick of motivational rah-rah talks that don't lead to any real change in your life, then you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode. So here's what I want to chat with you guys about today. And it is all of these rapid weight loss schemes that are out there. And so what does rapid even mean, right? So that could be a little bit subjective. So let's set some terms here. To me, like if somebody's posting that they're losing like 20 or 30 pounds in a month, I mean, like 30 pounds is obviously excessive, but I tend to stay like, let's stay around like 1% of your body weight a week. Now, if it's faster than that and it's happening naturally, great, whatever. If you're feeling good and all your biofeedback is coming in great and we're not doing anything drastic to cause the weight loss, okay? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who are posting all the before and after pictures and, oh my gosh, you got to do this diet, blah, blah, blah. Even if the weight loss isn't super aggressive as far as a number goes, but it's a pretty strict diet, all of those things are just wrecking our bodies, even if they look like they're working in the moment. And so this is the tricky thing. And if you've been on any of my live events or watched any of the replays here in the group, you've heard me talk about those 3 bad M's of dieting, right? You guys have heard me talk about it on the podcast too. And so I won't belabor the first 2 for too long, but I will do a little bit of a recap right now for those of you who haven't heard this term. The one that I really want to talk about today, though, is mindset and what it's doing to our brains, because this takes like so much work to undo these like negative thought patterns that we have when we've been dieting forever. And it's like, it totally screws up our whole like weight loss journey. It makes it miserable. It makes it very hard to stick to things that actually cause sustainable weight loss. So we'll get into all that in a second. But here's these 3 bad M's. Here's what happens when we diet. Okay. And so there are ways, by the way, to lose weight without dieting. Yes, you have to change what you're eating. Yeah, you might have to move around a little bit more, right? But there's other things, especially for women. And especially the older that we get, we got to start looking at stress. We got to start looking at sleep. So women hit a plateau and they think, oh, I got to eat less food. It's like, how much less food you going to eat, boo? Like you're already not eating a lot, right? And so that's not all there is to it. Okay. But so here's the deal. When we diet, meaning we're in a big calorie deficit or we're eating all day, but it's just rabbit food. It's not anything that's very satiating. It feels strict. Here's how you know if it's too strict. The weight's flying off. You feel hungry all the time. Your cravings are going up. Eating has become a chore and not really even enjoyable. You're not sleeping through the night and you usually do, or you're having a hard time falling asleep and that's never been a problem for you before. You're super crabby. Your libido is very low. Now, if any of those were out of whack before, fine. But like those things start getting out of whack after you start a diet or you've been on a diet for a while, something's off. Okay, it's too strict. And so here's what starts to happen. So the first thing is metabolic adaptation. This is bad M number 1. So metabolic adaptation happens a little bit when we're losing weight regardless, but when we're dieting and we're being aggressive, it's way, 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 way worse. And it's fancy talk for it's decreasing your metabolism. It's happening at a cellular level. All these things are happening. I get into that on other trainings. And if you want to know about that, let me know. But we'll summarize with that. Okay. Just for time's sake. And then the second thing is muscle loss. And women don't think they care about this, but here's the deal. You do, because the more muscle mass that you have on the body, basically the faster your metabolism is. Okay. It's a little bit more intricate than that. And again, we have other trainings about that. But suffice it to say, like if you're not getting adequate amounts of proteins, carbs, and fat, if you're in a big calorie deficit, if you're doing a lot of fasting, basically anything that's like a standard diet, typically the way that women go about it, especially, it's causing muscle loss. So if our metabolism is slowing down at a cellular level on a diet and we're losing muscle, which further slows our metabolism, what is inevitably going to happen when we stop the diet? We're going to rebound weight gain, right? And then we think something's wrong with us. So here's bad on number 3. And that is that it is mentally exhausting. And that's the thing that I want to focus on today, because I am seeing more and more and more of this with my clients and with women who come to me to talk about potentially coaching. And it's really doing such a disservice to women, this whole like diet culture BS. And it's making me crazy, you guys. Like, I can't even scroll my Facebook page anymore because I'm so sick of these like crazy before and after pictures. And then everybody jumps on the bandwagon with all these wacky ideas that are not new, by the way. There's no new diet. There are rebranded diets. Okay. So there's nothing new under the sun. And if it didn't work for us before, it's probably not going to work again. Right. And it's because it's wrecking our body. And if you've been around for a while, you've heard me talk about that, but let's hammer in the mindset thing of what's going on here. So we go on a diet, and because that's all we know, right? It's not even your fault. Okay. I did this for years and I was a nurse and I should have known better. But like, we really don't even fully understand this stuff within the medical community either, if I'm being honest. Like, this is why most of my clients actually work in medicine. Okay. Nurses, doctors, other health coaches, things like that. It's because weight loss can be so contradictory to what we think culturally, what we've always been taught. It's not that it's actually that complicated. Okay. But it's so contradictory to what we've been taught that makes it difficult for our brains. Here's the reality. It's actually easier when you're fueling your body to lose weight. And by the way, if you're not signed up for next week's Jumpstart, it's a free 5-day challenge. You so need to be in this because we're going to get into this stuff. I'm going to give you recipes to follow, all this stuff to boost your metabolism instead of slowing it down. So shameless plug for that. You totally need to get involved. But anyways, when you're fueling your body, when you're giving it the right nutrients and all of those things, you're actually more satisfied with what you're eating. You like your meals because you don't have to eat weird stuff to lose weight. Like, this is totally BS. You don't have to eat anything you don't like to lose weight. And you feel really good. Like, you have all this energy and you have this focus and you start sleeping better if you have sleep issues. Like, all of this stuff starts to come in nice lock and step. Here's the deal. When I'm talking to my clients before I sign them up and I explain this, they're like, yes, I want that. Okay. But we're going to lose weight slower. Yep. I'm cool with that. Makes sense. I didn't put it on overnight. I'm not going to lose it overnight either. Okay, great. Here's what happens though. We have been beat up by dieting for so many years that the first stumbling block that we approach or whatever, we have such low confidence in ourselves from dieting that we try to use it as evidence that what we're doing isn't working. Even if we've seen like the scales going down, for instance, but somebody like slips up and has a cookie or something, it's like not even going to be a big deal. It's not even going to stop the scale. But like sometimes we just like have a meltdown. And I've done this before too, where it's like, well, I already had the cookie. So now I just might as well go get the takeout and I might as well have the pizza and I'm going to do all of this stuff. And like tomorrow's a new day. Then I'll just eat all the things today so that I can start over tomorrow. And it's like this all or nothing thinking that is there from all of our dieting history, right? And it doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve us. And these rapid weight loss schemes, they're making this worse because they're teaching this all or nothing thinking. Like, you have to do X, Y, and Z. Listen, there's a lot of things you can do to lose weight. Okay. There's some really obvious things. And then there's some that are more personal to you. That's why one size does not fit all when it comes to losing weight. I do not ever give my clients meal plans. I don't ever like prescribe workouts. Like, I can consult with personal trainers and do that. I choose not to because everybody's body needs something different. And you don't have to do one specific thing to lose weight, right? We got to figure out what your body wants and like what your brain wants to do. And how is this like going to fit your life and all of these other things. But when we do these rapid weight loss schemes, we are told you have to do this, you have to do that. There's a lot of like zealotry involved, like carbs bad or vegetables bad or meat bad, or like anytime somebody's like villainizing like a whole group of food, that should be a red flag. Okay. Or if they don't recognize that there may be a different way for certain people. So if people tell you The only way for you to lose weight is if you eat within an 8-hour eating window. You have to do some form of intermittent fasting, or else you're just not going to lose weight. And it's like, actually, for some people, that's worse. Like, some of the chicks that start working with me are already doing intermittent fasting, and it's part of the reason that they're stuck. And then for some other people, their bodies thrive on it. So there is no right or wrong approach. But when we get these things conditioned in our brains, and we don't really realize that they're there. But here's an example. I tell people you get to keep carbohydrates. And then the first time that I give them a recipe and it has potatoes in it, they're like, well, I'm going to eat potatoes. And I'm like, I mean, if you like them, if you don't like them, you don't have to eat them. But like, we think potatoes are bad. Bananas are bad. That's from this low carb movement, right? Now, some of the programs that are out there, which are spinoffs of things that we already did in the 80s and they didn't work, we're telling people they have to eat like every 2 hours. No, you don't. No, you don't. Like, the research is very, very clear that you do not need to do that to lose weight. It does not increase your metabolism. It ends up being a huge chore for like busy working people that can't eat every 2 hours. But like, people will go 3 or 4 hours without a meal and they're like, oh my gosh, I got to eat right now or else I'm not going to lose weight. And we have like all of these things in our brain. And here's what it ends up doing. We end up with like disordered eating, like actual, like it's not like you have an eating disorder where you're like starving yourself or anything, but there's some clear, just like issues around food and extremely low confidence. And this is the one that just like makes me so mad, you guys, because you're all extremely capable of losing weight. Like, you don't need to be a genius to do this. I think what people need is support and structure and methods and accountability and all of those things, but it's not rocket science. But I see extremely capable, confident in other areas of life women who have just like no confidence left when it comes to losing weight. And it's because we've been dieting for so long that the evidence that we see is that we can't do it, right? But what if I told you diets just don't work? And so they were designed for you to fail and that's not on you. And here's my evidence. Okay. So you're rolling your eyes at me and you're like, yeah, it's so easy for you, Nikki. You're a health coach. But first of all, it wasn't easy for me. Okay. I was always like a lean person until the day I woke up. It felt like overnight, but it wasn't. Anybody with me on that? Like, whoa, how'd I get this size all of a sudden overnight? But until the day where I wasn't all of a sudden lean and my body was extremely stressed out and achy and heading down the autoimmune path and all these things were happening, then it was not easy for me to change my behavior. That's why I'm so in love with helping other people do it. I had no self-control. It was like, I see food, I eat the food. I was raised on junk food. Okay. So I understand how difficult behavior change can be. But what if by being overly strict and it being beat into our heads that that's the only way to lose weight, and it not being possible for the majority of people to do that, as evidenced by the fact that 95% of people fail on a diet, 95 guys will even if they lose weight, even if they hit their goal, they will regain that weight within a year. And within 3 years, most people have surpassed what they initially lost. So that looks like you lost 20 on a diet. Over the course of the year, you gained back that 20 pounds. But then if we follow you out a few years later, you've put on like 30. So if that's 95% of people, if 95% of people regain the weight that they lose or don't even complete the diet at all, then how can it mean anything about us? Right? That's not an us problem. That can't be. Like, we're set up to fail. Why? Because of those 3 bad M's, remember? So if we're decreasing our metabolism, we're losing muscle mass, and it's causing mental burnout because it's way more strict than it needs to be. And we think this is the only way to do it. Then every time we try again, and it's super, super hard and not fun, and we don't feel good doing it, and it doesn't really fit our lifestyle at all, we quit. And then we think, oh, I'm the problem. I suck. I can't diet. I like food too much. I have no self-control. I have no willpower. I don't know what to do. None of those things are true. None of them. Like, the chicks who I'm working with, I can look at their life and I have evidence that they're not lazy people. Like, they're parenting, 4 kids and homeschooling, or they're moms who are working like in CEO roles. And like, I mean, people are busy doing like all of these things. This isn't stuff lazy people do. Okay. But then when we can't lose weight, we're like, it means something about me. I'm lazy. I'm this, I'm that. We never look at the method and blame the method. The diet is the problem. You're not the problem. The diet is the problem. Is this hitting home for anybody? Please tell me that it is. Because I know for a fact that all of you can get to whatever weight you want if it's a healthy weight, right? So I'm not saying go be like little string beans, right? But we can all get to a healthy weight, feel very confident, feel strong, have more energy, more mental clarity. We can have all of these things, and we don't need to be super strict. And in fact, here's the caveat to it. When we're not so strict, that is when we'll keep the results. The problem becomes we have all or nothing thinking from dieting. And some of us are just built that way too, right? Like I am that way. Like go big or go home. If I'm doing something, it's going to be 100%. I'm not here to play around. I'm busy. So if I'm going to diet, it's got to be the strictest diet I can find to give me the fastest results, because grass don't grow under these feet and I got to hurry up. But that doesn't actually work for sustainable weight loss. It doesn't work at all. And it's a really hard mindset to break. And sometimes people join my program and they really just need the how-tos. And I'm like, here, go eat these things. And they just like lose a bunch of weight and they're like off into the sunset. It's becoming less and less the case is what I've been noticing. And I think because people are sending women to me who have been struggling for a while to lose weight. And that's great. I love to help those women. Sometimes you can have a breakthrough in a couple of weeks. Sometimes you could be doing good for a couple of months and then something in life happens. And our emotional go-to was always food. And so a couple months into it, sometimes we're working through the food issues. Like we all have a lot of previous diet history, cultural differences, how our families ate, like all of this stuff is wrapped up in this, you guys. And whenever we try these really strict, rapid weight loss things, it just further defeats us, even if we hit the goal. Because what happens is, okay, so you hit your goal. Let's say you want to lose 30 pounds. You lose 30 pounds eating rabbit food and you've decreased your metabolism and you feel like crap, but you lost 30 pounds. So you're really happy. So it worked, right? But it wasn't a sustainable way for you to keep eating. So here's the other thing. If what you're doing to lose weight, you cannot continue to do, then it's not going to keep the weight off, right? However we lose it is how we got to maintain it. And so that's why it's so good. This is why it's good to be less strict. Then you're doing things you can stick with. Like if you get into your plan and you're a few weeks in and you're like, oh, okay, this isn't that hard. And I'm not doing it perfect. And I've got some hiccups and some mindset things I need to overcome. But by and large, what I'm doing here, yeah, I could eat like this forever. It's not like a countdown until I can have a piece of bread again, or a countdown until I can have my alcohol back, or, you know, a countdown until I don't got to eat every 2 hours, or whatever the thing is. Like if you're doing something that makes you feel miserable while you're doing it, or it feels like this doesn't actually fit my life, then the weight's going to come back. And then what's going to happen? We're going to blame ourselves. Oh, how did I get back here again? And the bad thing is we go to start something else, probably some other strict diet. And now the weight loss is harder because of those 3 bad M's from the diet before. And so we're constantly chasing our tail. We're making it harder on our body, but we're just wrecking our mindset. And it doesn't have to be this way. So this is where it frustrates me so much. So let me know, is this hitting home for you guys? Tell me what you think about this. Have you found yourself with that like all or nothing thinking, or like you have one little slip up and you're just like, yep, knew I couldn't do it. You know, sometimes that's we don't have confidence in our plan or that we know what we're doing, but oftentimes it's just because we just think that we can't do it. And we have to build that belief in ourselves or get support until you have that belief, right? Because if we don't believe it, because of all of our past dieting experience, if we don't believe it, it's going to be really hard to carry out the actions required to get the change that we want to see, right? So my big question for everybody is always like, are you more interested in keeping weight off once you lose it? Or is it just, let's hurry up and get to the number I want to see on the scale? My preference is to work with people who want to keep it off, because anytime we're just chasing that number on the scale, which we can hit our goals, that's totally cool. I love goals, whether they come with a number on the scale or not, right? But if that's the only thing and we're just trying to hit it as hard and fast as we can, we're just wrecking our bodies. And it leads to spiraling later. It leads to binging. It's like I'm strict all week long, and I hated what I was eating. And then the weekend came and it was like, well, I was so good all week, I deserve this, right? Or we just don't care because we're busy on the weekend and we want to have a good time. And we think we can't have fun if we're losing weight. But the truth is we have to learn how to incorporate fun into our plan, because that's what doing life is like, right? A real, true, solid weight loss plan has to let you be you and have a social life and like do all of these things. And so it's really hard to like put our horse blinders on and not pay attention to all of the gimmicks out there, because they're everywhere, right? I mean, even if you're not on social media, you go to work in the break room and you're eating a banana and somebody walks in and they're like, I thought you were trying to lose weight. You're going to like eat that banana? And I'm like, I kind of want to throw this at you right now because bananas are healthy. I can have a banana. So let me know how this one sits with you guys. I hope that this is just like giving you a little bit of inspiration to know that like, it ain't your fault, boo. It ain't your fault you haven't lost weight. That's literally what dieting does to us. But more importantly, I want you guys to see these patterns. I want you to see these faulty thought patterns that have been ingrained in us from diet culture for decades and decades and decades. And then even more importantly, put your horse blinders on, stay in your lane. Don't worry about what your friend is doing to lose weight. People are going to come at you all the time. Oh my gosh, I just took this pill, or I just did this magical potion, or I just cut out all of these 12 foods and like I magically lost weight, or I only eat at 6 p.m. or just like whatever it is, right? I live off of these little processed snacks that I eat every 2 hours. Whatever it is that they're coming at you with, if you're on a plan that is buttoned up and it's dialed in for you, stick with it. If you're not and you need a plan like that, let me know, or hop in the free reset that we're going to do, the metabolic jumpstart, that we're going to do next week. Get what you need. But regardless, run as fast as you can from those gimmicks, you guys, because they're not doing you any favors, even if they cause like immediate weight loss in the moment. If the goal is to lose it and keep it off and not have to keep dieting forever, right? Because are you guys sick of doing that? I was sick of doing that. If the goal is to keep it off, those are never going to get you there. Okay, so run from them as fast as you can. I would love to know what you guys think about this. And I will see everybody here next week. Thanks for tuning in. It is my mission to give women back the confidence that they need to show up bigger in their lives. Right now, the world more than ever needs women who are on fire and living their purpose. If you want to join me in this mission, there's a few things you can do. 1, you can share this podcast with the women in your circle. 2, you can join me in my Facebook group, Simplified Fat Loss, or you can subscribe to my newsletter at nikkiode.com.